Rabbi a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. O my Lord, aid me and support me in remembering you and in being grateful to you and in making good worship of you. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he came, and as you may or may not know, that Ibn Taymiyyah was someone who had amassed an amazing library of books. He inherited books. He was someone who would, if he didn't have a book, he would borrow it and write the whole book by hand. And as a result of this, and books would come to him, as a result of this, he amassed thousands and thousands of books, to such a degree that the scholars today explain that there is hardly a book that Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim, that from the Salaf, except that they would have knowledge of it. And so one of the signs that they use, or that to establish that a book was in existence, is if Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned it in any of his books. Right? So this is how they find lost books from the time of the Salaf. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he inherited the knowledge of the books that were written by the Salaf, of the books of Imam al-Darimi, and the books of all the refutations that were written. He acquired them, they came to him, and from that he acquired knowledge of what happened to the ummah, of all of these innovations, where they came from. And he managed to know and understand the actual opinions of every single group and sect, because not only did he read the books of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, of the Salaf, he looked into the books. The books came to, so he read the books of the Asha'ira, he read the books of the Maturidiyya, he read the books of all of the innovators and their figureheads, those who were writing and promoting their false beliefs. And from that he acquired an amazing encyclopedic knowledge about every single group, every single faction, to such a degree that Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, he says in one of his books, that there is no innovator who innovated a bid'ah except that I know his name. I know who it was who originated that specific bid'ah, and what land he was in. This is a statement mentioned from Ibn Taymiyyah in one of his works. And so when Ibn Taymiyyah came in that period in the 7th and 8th centuries, then what he did is that he wrote and he defended and he revived, he basically connected the latter part of this ummah from the 8th century onwards. He re-established the connection back to the way of the Salaf. So it's as if he tied the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th and whatever comes afterwards, he tied it back to the 3rd century after Islam, or the 4th century after Islam. He made that connection back. Why? Because through him we came to know of many of the books that were written by the Imams of the Salaf. We came to know of many of those books that we didn't otherwise have knowledge of. So therefore we see this connection was re-established between the first 3 generations and with what came after the 8th century, by way of what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah did, by way of his jihad in writing, defending, clarifying, explaining, refuting, and as a result of which he suffered a great deal of harms. He was imprisoned, he was oppressed, he was attacked, he was maligned. Why? Because he refuted every single faction. He refuted the philosophers, he demolished and destroyed them. He refuted Aristotle, Plato, and all of those from this ummah, or who ascribed to this ummah, who were using their philosophies from the Mutafalsifa, Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi and other than them. He destroyed all of them. He destroyed them in such a way that in fact he annihilated the very foundations of all of Western civilization today, which are basically the philosophy of the Greeks. So he demolished them. He demolished the Batiniyya, the group I mentioned in the 4th, 5th century, who came in order to demolish Islam. He destroyed the Ahlul Kalam in all of their different factions. The Ash'aris, the Mu'tazila, the Jahmiyyah, the Karramiyya. He didn't leave any single one of them. The Salimiyya, no matter how obscure they were, he demolished all of them. He demolished the arguments of the Qadariyya, the Jabariyya, the Jahmiyyah, the Khawarij. Not a single. He demolished the belief of the Christians. He annihilated them. Al-Jawab al-Sahih liman baddala al-Din al-Masih. Right? Not a single fraction except that he refuted them all, whether they are from Islam or whether they are not from Islam. And by way of that, by way of all of his books, he re-established, he made that connection again to the Tawheed of the messengers and the Aqidah that the Sahaba were upon. And so therefore, when we are reading or when we are studying these texts from Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, or when we are reading his books like Wasitiyya and Al-Hamawiyya and At-Tadmuriyya. And when we are reading his works, like, Minhaj al-Sunnah, which is a refutation of the Rafida, or we are reading Al-Tis'iniyya, or many, Dar Ta'arud, many of these other famous books that we have, what we are seeing is we are seeing a clarification and a purification of the Aqidah of Islam in that critical juncture in the 8th century, when all of the groups of Bid'ah had, they had domination, they had strength, they had clout, they had the leaders on their side. And so this is what we see Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah doing at that critical juncture in time. So as the Shaykh says here, that Ibn Taymiyyah, he died in the year of 728 Hijrah, and his jihad is ma'rufun bi jihadihi, bilisanihi, that he's known with his jihad by way of his tongue, and by way of his pen, and by way of his soul, his soul. And likewise, he participated in the jihad against the Tartars and the Mongols when they came across the Muslim lands, and he defended the Aqidah, he affirmed the Aqidah of the Salaf, and he demolished the doubts of those who brought those doubts. So his pen was it was like basically something that was quick and rapid against, and something that, by which he wrote many books, and as a result of which the Aqidah and the Manhaj of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah became straightened and corrected in the affairs of Aqidah and Fiqh and Saluk and so on and so forth. And so this is Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah.